Sometimes the heart breaks quietly, not with noise, not with thunder, but with silence. And sometimes healing begins the same way. Tonight, we travel to the south of Spain, to a whitewashed village by the sea, where the scent of orange blossoms drifts through narrow streets, and a lonely woman returns to a house filled with her grandmother's memories. There, she will meet a man whose hands build music from broken wood, and together they will learn that love isn't about what's perfect. It's about what endures. You're watching Lifetone Stories, a channel born from the belief that real stories of love, loss, and second chances, can heal in ways words alone cannot. If you believe that too, please help this little channel grow. Like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what kind of story your heart needs next. Now, take a deep breath, let the world quiet around you, and come with us to the House of Orange Light. The train slid along the edge of the Atlantic like a silver thread catching light. Elena Hart pressed her forehead to the window and watched the water become a sheet of hammered gold beneath the late afternoon sun. She carried one suitcase in a grief that refused to sit quietly. Cádiz smelled of salt and orange peel, of old stone and new bread. The taxi left her at a narrow street where balconies were dressed with geraniums and laundry lifted like flags of ordinary victory. The Casa de la Luz Naranja waited at the corner, her grandmother's house, small and white, a brass lantern above the door cupping a warm amber glow. Inside, dust held the air but not for long. Elena opened shutters, and the room breathed. On a table, a tin of tea, a chipped blue cup, a key with a red thread tied to it. On the wall, a framed photo of her grandmother laughing in a summer dress, the sea behind her like a promise kept. She set her suitcase down and let silence arrive. Not the heavy silence she knew in Boston, but a softer one, sea-stitched, lemon bright. From the street below came a guitar phrase, simple and patient. She closed her eyes. The note did not demand. It waited. That night, the lantern threw its orange circle across the floorboards, and she fell asleep inside it. Morning peeled back the night with a cry of gulls. Elena climbed the narrow stairs to the rooftop terrace. The city lay like a handful of white stones tossed toward the water. A neighbor waved from the next roof. Buenos dias. Guapa. Coffee. It wasn't a question so much as a welcome. Downstairs, she explored the rooms. A kitchen tiled in green, a shelf of cookbooks annotated in her grandmother's tidy hand, a low cabinet with a painted azulejo door. The key with a red thread fit perfectly. Inside, a tile box filled with folded letters and a concert ticket from 1974, Paco de Lucio, Teatro Falla. Her grandmother had loved music with a kind of devotion that makes a life bigger than itself. Elena set the letters aside. She wasn't ready. Instead, she walked until the street delivered her to La Caleta Beach, where old men argued about football and women sat in pairs like parentheses around conversations. She bought a paper cone of fried anchovies and ate them with lemon, eyes stinging, not sure from citrus or relief. The guitar from last night found her again, not from a window this time, but from a doorway where a man adjusted strings with a care that felt like prayer. He was sanding the neck of a guitar when she paused at the threshold. The workshop smelled of cedar and orange oil. Guitars in every stage of becoming leaned against the wall like shy travelers. "Passe," he said without looking up. "You can come in. The dust only bites on Tuesdays." She smiled despite herself. "It's Thursday." "Then you are safe." He lifted his gaze. Salt and pepper hair, hands nicked impatient, eyes that had learned the weather of people. "I'm Mateo Cruz." "Elena," she said, "new to the street." "The house with the orange lamp." He nodded. "Your abuela danced better than anyone. She once told me would keep secrets if you asked kindly." Elena looked around. Do guitars forgive clumsy hands? "They forgive honest ones," he said, offering a seat. He plucked the slow allegrias. The notes warmed the corners. Music knows when you are trying to be brave. She didn't know why the sentence undid her, only that it did. He saw it and did not ask why. Instead, he set a small radio to a station that played old boleros and poured her a glass of water with mint. When she left, the street felt more like a road than a maze. At Mercado Central, fish gleamed like coins freshly minted. A woman with red lipstick slid a basket toward Elena. "You look lost." "Hey, get tomatoes." These taste like August even in April. Elena bought tomatoes, bread, olives, and a bouquet of small orange blossoms she did not need but could not refuse. Back home, she ate on the terrace. The letters in the tile box waited like a tide she wasn't ready to enter. She took a notebook instead and wrote 3 lines. I am learning the weight of mourning. I am learning the color of mercy. I am learning to breathe where the sea can see me. In the afternoon, she returned to the workshop with a bag of pastries. Mateo set aside his tools without ceremony, the way people do when habit has never been more important than kindness. You brought truce, he said, opening the bag. Elena, he tried her name like a chord. Do you play? I used to, she said. Before. He nodded as if the word held everything it needed to. Then we will begin with the easiest thing, one note that is true. Night brought a moon so thin it looked like a secret. Elena lit the orange lantern and finally opened the first letter. Menina, if you have found these, it means the house is ready to hold you. I wrote to you for the future I dreamed for you, one where pain is not a wall but a door. When I was young, the world told me to be quiet. I chose to sing. Promise me you will choose the brave thing, even if it is small. Another letter from the same summer as a Paco de Lucia ticket. I met a young luthier today. He speaks with the way some people speak to saints, with faith and grit. He believes instruments choose their musicians. He says grief changes the sound of a guitar, but not its purpose. How could I not adore a man like that? Not romantically. Life chose other stories for us, but tenderly, as one adores a bridge that holds. Elena pressed the paper to her chest. A hush fell over the room that felt like blessing. She thought of Mateo's hands, the way he asked for truth, not perfection. From the street, someone called goodnight in 3 directions and got 3 replies. She blew out the lamp, and the house exhaled. That evening, Cádiz shimmered in the soft gold of dusk. Elena carried a glass of wine to the rooftop terrace. The air smelled of orange blossom and salt, and below her, the city pulsed with laughter, like a memory that refused to fade. She sat by the old terracotta railing, the lantern glowing beside her, and listened to the hum of distant guitars from a nearby tavern. The notes rose and dissolved into the night like candle smoke. Her grandmother's letters still rested on the table inside. She could feel their presence even from here, quiet, patient, almost alive. Footsteps echoed on the rooftop stairs. You should have told me this view was better than confession, Mateo said, stepping into the orange light with a half smile. I didn't think you'd climb 3 floors for it, she teased. I would climb 6. He handed her a small package, a single guitar string in a paper envelope. For tomorrow, he said. It's time you played again. She hesitated. I don't think I remember how. You don't forget truth, he said softly. The sea whispered below them, the kind of sound that fills silence without breaking it. And when she smiled, he looked away, as if to let her own light grow without his eyes crowding it. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the shutters like golden threads. Mateo arrived carrying a worn guitar. She's not perfect, he said, placing it on the table. But neither are we. Elena traced her fingers over the wood, smooth in places, scarred in others. What happened to it? It belonged to someone who stopped believing in sound. She lifted it carefully. The instrument was older than memory but lighter than sorrow. When she strummed a chord, it came out uneven, trembling, almost human. Mateo watched her quietly. Beautiful, he said. She laughed. That was terrible. Then terrible has never sounded so alive. For the first time in years, she felt her heartbeat match something outside herself. When she stopped playing, tears shimmered unsummoned. Music, he said gently, is just grief that learned to dance. And when he said it, she believed him. The town celebrated La Feria de Primavera that weekend. Streets bloomed with colored ribbons and paper lanterns. Music spilled from every corner. Laughter, flamenco heels, the hum of life refusing to be quiet. Elena didn't plan to go, but her neighbor, Maria, appeared at her door wearing a red dress and determination. You cannot grieve in pajamas forever. Corrida, come. She went. The fairground lights glowed like small suns, and somewhere between the music and the crowd, she saw Mateo fixing a broken string on a stage guitar for one of the local performers. Their eyes met across the noise. For a second, the world fell into silence. He walked toward her, holding 2 small paper fans. "One for heat," he said, "and one for courage." She laughed. "Which is which?" "You'll know when you need them." Later, under strings of lights, they danced, not perfectly, but freely. And when he spun her once and caught her again, she felt the world tilt just enough to make sense again. 3 days later, the sky turned the color of pewter. Fishermen tied their boats tighter, the gulls disappeared inland, and thunder rolled like drums announcing some truth too large for words. Elena watched from her terrace as rain began to fall, slow at first, then wild. The wind pushed through the shutters, scattering papers across the floor. One of her grandmother's letters slipped open, and she caught a glimpse of a line she hadn't read before. "When the storm comes, do not run. It is the sea remembering you." Lightning flashed. The street below flooded with reflections of lanterns still burning in doorways. There was a knock. Mateo, drenched, holding a cloth-wrapped bundle. "Your window's open," he said, "and I thought maybe you'd need company." "I should be afraid," she said, "but I'm not." He smiled. "Then the sea remembers you, too." They sat together on the floor while rain drummed against the glass. The storm sang its wild song, and for once, she didn't flinch at the sound. Morning arrived in silver quiet. The storm had washed the streets clean, leaving the world smelling of salt and newness. Elena made coffee, strong and black, and poured 2 cups. Mateo stood by the window, his shirt still damp at the cuffs. "You know," he said, "storms don't just take things. They also reveal what refuses to fall." She looked at him for a long time. "I want to learn again," she said. "To play, to stay, to try." He nodded, then promised me one thing. "What?" "When you play, don't chase the note. Let it find you." She smiled, tears soft and quiet. "I promise." He left soon after, but the house no longer felt empty. It breathed, as if its walls had been waiting all this time to hear that promise. Elena picked up the guitar and strummed one slow, imperfect chord. It wasn't flawless, but it was true. And through the open window, the sea carried the sound away, gentle and infinite. It was late afternoon when Mateo invited her to the workshop again. The smell of cedar and varnish wrapped around them like memory. He pointed toward a half-finished guitar on the table. "This one's for you," he said. Elena froze. "You're making me a guitar." "Not making," he corrected softly. "Finishing. Your grandmother started it." She blinked, not understanding. He opened a small drawer and took out a folded note, written in familiar, flowing handwriting. "Mateo, if I never finish this instrument, promise me you will. One day my granddaughter will come back. Her hands will be heavy, but her heart will be ready. Let her find her sound." Elena pressed the paper to her lips, tears spilling before she could stop them. "She built this." "She did. We worked on it together the summer before she fell ill. She said she wanted to leave you something that could sing when you couldn't." Elena traced the smooth body of the guitar, the delicate grain, the initials AH etched inside. "I don't know what to say." "Say nothing," he whispered. "Just promise you'll let her finish through you." And for the first time since she'd arrived in Cádiz, she cried without hiding. A week later, they drove inland toward Seville. The car hummed through olive fields that stretched like soft green oceans. The road curved between white villages and hills crowned with windmills. "Why Seville?" she asked. Mateo smiled. "Because every heart needs to hear itself echo once in a while." They spent the morning in the cathedral, where shafts of sunlight fell through stained glass like painted music. He pointed upward at the great organ. Each pipe plays a single tone. Alone, it's nothing. Together, it becomes grace. In the afternoon, they walked the riverbank, eating oranges straight from a street stall, their hands sticky and sweet. Elena said quietly, "I used to think healing was a destination. And now I think it's a rhythm. Some days you step forward, some you fall back, but the song keeps going." He nodded. "Then today we're dancing in time." When they drove home that evening, the car smelled of orange peel and sun. Neither spoke much, but silence felt like music between them. The next day, Mateo wasn't at the workshop. His door was locked, the shutters closed. The silence in the street felt heavier than usual. Elena asked Maria if she'd seen him. The woman crossed herself. His son came from Granada. Bad blood between them. Old things reopened. Elena hesitated at his door that evening, finally knocking. He answered, eyes tired, jaw set. Go home. Elena, he said quietly. Tell me what happened. It doesn't matter. Some mistakes don't forgive music. You once told me music forgives everything. He looked at her then, really looked. That was before my son stopped calling me father. The words cracked something inside her. Mateo. He shook his head. Please, leave it. She wanted to stay, to reach for him, but she saw the storm in his eyes, the one he'd spent years trying to quiet. She stepped back, then promised me one thing. He waited. When it stops hurting, let me in again. He nodded once and closed the door. Days passed in soft loneliness. Elena spent her mornings in the garden behind the house, tending to the orange tree her grandmother had planted decades ago. Its blossoms were in full bloom, small, white, and fragrant, each one a stubborn act of hope. One afternoon, she took a walk beyond the town walls, into the olive grove that stretched like silver-green waves. The world was quiet, the kind of quiet that listens. She sat beneath an old olive tree, notebook in hand. The pages were filled with half-thoughts, fragments, and a question that haunted her. Can love exist between two people still learning to forgive themselves? She didn't find the answer, but she wrote anyway. Some hearts are houses built from storms. Some walls stand not to keep people out, but to see who stays in the rain. When she returned to the village, she found a note slipped under her door. I'm sorry. Tomorrow, the workshop will be open. And beneath it, a single orange blossom press flat. The workshop was quiet when she entered. Mateo stood at the window, the half-finished guitar on the table between them. I said things I shouldn't have, he murmured. So did I, inside my head, she said gently. He smiled faintly. Then we're even. They worked side by side in silence, sanding, tuning, breathing. The sun moved across the floor in slow amber bands. When he finally handed her the instrument, it was whole. Play something, he said. Her fingers trembled as they found the strings. The melody came halting, fragile, but true. Then, halfway through, her voice cracked. She stopped, eyes wet. I can't finish it. Mateo stepped closer. Then let me. He took her hand, guided it along the final chord, and together they played the last note, one that lingered in the air long after sound was gone. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. Sometimes, love isn't a confession. It's simply the courage to stay while the song finds its end. Summer arrived with the sound of drums and laughter. The night of San Juan, the shortest and brightest night of the year, filled Cádiz with bonfires by the beach. People wrote wishes and fears on scraps of paper, ready to burn them as the clock struck midnight. Elena stood barefoot in the sand, the sea warm against her toes. Mateo appeared beside her, carrying two folded papers. Your wish or your fear? She asked. He smiled. One of each. She hesitated, then unfolded her own. On one paper she had written, let me forgive the past. On the other, let me believe in what stays. They placed the papers together and watched the flames rise. The firelight turned their faces gold. Around them, people laughed, sang, and jumped over the small bonfires, shouting promises to the stars. Mateo looked at her. What do you want, Elena? She thought for a long time. Peace, she said softly, and maybe a home that doesn't disappear when I close my eyes. He nodded, then stay long enough to build it. The waves hissed as they met the fire's edge, and for the first time in years, she didn't fear the dark. 2 nights later, the sky burned again, but this time, not with celebration. The wind turned wild, and a spark from a neighbor's lantern caught one of the wooden balconies on fire. The flames leapt fast, hungry, merciless. Elena was inside, asleep, when the smell of smoke woke her. She ran to the door, coughing. The orange glow she'd always loved now painted her walls in panic. Through the haze, She heard Mateo shouting her name. He broke through the door, eyes wide, face streaked with ash. "Elena, come!" The staircase was half in flames. He grabbed her hand and pulled her through the smoke, shielding her as debris fell around them. The heat roared. Time slowed. Outside, neighbors poured water, shouted prayers. When they finally reached the street, she collapsed into his arms, trembling. Her orange lantern, the one her grandmother had hung, fell and shattered behind them, scattering glass like fireflies. They watched in silence as firefighters doused the last of the flames. The Casa de la Luz Naranja stood charred, but not lost. She looked at him, voice shaking. "You saved me." He shook his head. "You were already saving yourself." The next morning smelled of salt and smoke. Elena walked through remains of the house, blackened beams, cracked tiles, the scent of endings and beginnings. In the center of the floor lay the guitar, half-burned but intact enough to hold. She lifted it gently, her fingers trembling over the frets. Mateo appeared in the doorway, quiet as light. "I can fix it," he said. She smiled faintly. "No, leave it as it is. It's honest." They stood there, surrounded by the quiet wreckage of things that had mattered, and realized that loss, once again, had given them something to rebuild. "I could go back to Boston," she said slowly. "There's work waiting, a life waiting." He nodded. "And hey," she looked around. "Hey, there's living." Mateo stepped closer. "Then stay." Her eyes met his. "I will." And just like that, without grand declarations, without music or fireworks, she chose to belong. Weeks passed. The town came together, as small towns do. The women scrubbed walls, the men replaced beams, children brought buckets of paint. Someone hung paper lanterns where the old orange one had been. Elena worked alongside them. Sleeves rolled, hair tied back. Every brushstroke, every nail, every laugh felt like a heartbeat returning to the house. Mateo repaired the workshop next door, whistling softly as he worked. One afternoon, he appeared at her gate holding something behind his back. When she looked up, he smiled. "For the new beginning," he said. It was a small lantern, the same shape as the old one, but the glass painted in soft amber tones. When they lit it that evening, the glow filled the street again, warm, alive, forgiving. Maria clapped her hands. The house of orange light is reborn. Elena leaned against the doorway, watching Mateo in the soft firelight. "Do you believe in miracles?" she asked. He shrugged. "Only the ones we build." The sea was calm that morning, its color a perfect mirror of the sky. Elena stood on the terrace, a cup of coffee in hand, watching the first sun spill across the rooftops. The new orange lantern swayed gently in the breeze. Mateo joined her, carrying the half-burned guitar. He sat and played, low, imperfect, but beautiful. The sound carried through the waking city, over the cobblestones and into the sea. Elena closed her eyes. For the first time, she felt her grandmother there, not as a ghost, but as warmth, as peace. "Do you ever think she knew this would happen?" she asked softly. Mateo smiled. "Your abuela? She probably planned it." They laughed quietly, the sound soft against the morning air. Elena looked at the horizon. "I used to think love was what healed us." "And now?" he asked. "Now I think love is what lets us live with the scars." He reached for her hand. The orange light swayed, and the world exhaled. The sky turned brighter, the sea answered back, and the story, their story, no longer felt unfinished. Some places heal you quietly. Some hearts teach you to listen again. In Cádiz, beneath the orange light, two souls learned that love isn't about what you keep, it's about what you rebuild together. Thank you for watching Lifetone Stories. This channel is just beginning, and your support keeps these stories alive. If this story touched your heart, please help us grow. Like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what kind of story you'd love to hear next. Until the next story, may your heart always find its light.